A former media advisor to John Howard is tonight denying claims he covered up allegations of sexual misconduct made about Peter Slipper back in 2003. Julia Gillard and Tony Abbott are accusing each other of turning a blind eye to rumours about the Speaker's alleged misbehaviour before legal action against him was launched on the weekend. For now, two key independents say they're sticking by the government. With the latest in this political drama, Canberra correspondent Tom Iggulden.
In Singapore, they've named a new orchid after Julia Gillard.
Thank you, that's amazing.
While the Prime Minister attends ceremonial duties. Back home, the man who put the ceremony back into the Speaker's chair has become a shrinking violet. Peter Slipper's gone to ground since resigning his chair, but Julia Gillard says she's got no regrets about making him Speaker after his defection from the coalition.
Having Mr Slipper be Speaker has enabled the government to do some important things on behalf of Australian families.
She doesn't appreciate that it is her judgment and her standards which are now very much at issue.
Mr Abbott says there were already questions about Mr Slipper's use of entitlements when he defected from the coalition.
You should ask the government what the Department of Finance was investigating at the time when the Prime Minister put him into the Speaker's chair.
Those investigations are now the reason Mr Slipper says he's resigned, with the potential for criminal charges to be laid against him for misusing cab charge vouchers. But it's sensational allegations made in a civil claim that's doing the government most damage. They're being made by an openly gay Liberal National Party member, James Ashby, who Mr Slipper recruited from country Queensland to work for him starting in January. He stayed in Mr Slipper's flat, where he alleges within a week Mr Slipper had convinced him to massage his neck, then allegedly stripped down to his shorts. After about a minute, Peter Slipper began to moan in a manner that to Mr Ashby indicated intense sexual pleasure, Mr Ashby alleges. When he then stopped the massage, he alleges Mr Slipper said, "Oh, that felt so good." In subsequent days, he alleges Mr Slipper told him, "You're weird because you shower with the door shut, and you should try showering with the door open." After what Mr Ashby alleges were weeks of personal questions and inappropriate comments from Mr Slipper, he alleges he came under direct pressure from him. "If you're interested, we could be closer," Mr Slipper's alleged to have asked in one text message. "You want something more? You brilliant at massages," he allegedly says in another. The Prime Minister says legal processes must be allowed to take their course about the allegations of sexual harassment.
I don't claim to know Mr Slipper personally or well, but I formed a professional judgment about his ability to do the job.
That she's essentially making light of sexual harassment.
But the Prime Minister says Mr Abbott also has some explaining to do.
The allegations made on the weekend involve not only Mr Slipper, but the conduct of senior Liberal advisor Mr Tony Nutt, who worked in Prime Minister John Howard's office.
The court documents allege the existence of a video from 2003 depicting Mr Slipper and a male junior staffer, in which Mr Slipper's observed to lie on a bed with the junior male staff member in shorts and t-shirt and hug the junior male staff member in an intimate fashion. When a Liberal advisor told Mr Nutt of the video, she alleges Mr Nutt directed Megan Hobson to forget all about it. Tonight, Mr Nutt's released a statement describing that version of events as false and highly defamatory, and he's pointed out that the Liberal staffer who made them has herself acknowledged that the alleged relationship between Mr Slipper and the male staffer was consensual. While the major parties slug it out over who knew what about Mr Slipper's alleged behaviour and when, the independents say they want to get on with business.
I acknowledge Peter Slipper has vigorously denied all allegations against him, and I would hope this is not trial by media.
I don't think it's a good look. I don't think anybody thinks it's a good look, but they are allegations.
The Slipper issue's a distraction just 2.5 weeks out from the budget, but not one that stopped the annual competition to muscle up on economic management.
Going into the last election, we outlined $50 billion worth of savings. We will be at least as good as that going into the next election.
The government says if Mr Abbott's serious about spending cuts, he should vote for its plans to introduce a means test on private health insurance.
To oppose savings measures while calling for a surplus is simply dishonest. and such negativity has the potential to wreck the budget surplus.
If only all political arguments were so cut and dried. Tom Iggleton, Late Line.